Hello everybody, my name's Truva Demon and I am the Devil's Stockbroker. In this video, we're going to do something a little bit different. This video is going to be hosted by one of my own analysts, Scrap Queen, who has done a deep dive analysis on ticker symbol BEEM. This company, known as BEEM Global, engages in the invention, design, engineering, manufacturing, and sale of solar-powered products, and as it turns out, is a huge underdog in the market currently. And you'd be surprised, after all the information that was uncovered by Scrap Queen, I decided that it was worth doing a deep dive analysis on. This video is going to be her covering everything that she turned up on this ticker. I want to warn you that this is a very long analysis and it is going to take some time, but bear in mind that every piece of information is well worth it to take the time to listen to. Before we begin, I would ask that you consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel if you would like to get more information on stock tickers like this, and have me do more videos with my analysts doing their own due diligence and delivering their reports. And if you want to participate in this research yourself, you can consider joining Hell's Trading Floor via our website at hellstradingfloor.com and sign up to join our Discord at discord.gg/hellstradingfloor. Without further ado, let's get started.
Okay, and I did some research. ProxGT asked me to look into this company called BEEM Global, and when I first started looking into it, the more I looked into it, I liked it a lot, so I looked into it quite a bit deeper. I'm just going to go ahead and read from the posting that True Demon is showing. Basically, it's a compilation of information about this company from a variety of sources, and I paraphrased quite a bit of information or posted directly information from their site, SEC filings, or newspaper articles about them that were also referenced on their site as well. And the references are at the very bottom of this compilation that I made. And basically what BEEM Global is a company that creates infrastructure for EV chargers, for energy generation and energy storage and outdoor media. Their main focus is basically EV infrastructure and energy generation and storage. They develop, design, engineer, manufacture, and sell their products. They're high quality, renewably energized infrastructure products. They're also used for disaster preparedness. They're safe, compact, highly energy dense battery solutions inside there from a company that they recently acquired called Allcell. And that's a very, very strategic, important buy that they made, which I'll get into a little bit further along. And basically, BEEM wants to help in the electrification of transportation across America to help us prepare our grid for electric vehicles and the charging needs that are going to arise from that. Their EV infrastructure, their charging stations, and energy storage and battery products address the needs of cheap, reliable, 100% domestically produced, secure, clean energy products. And they meet the needs of emergency and off-grid solutions, especially in outlying rural areas that are isolated, underdeveloped, or don't have any infrastructure at all to tap into, because their products can tap into the grid, but they're also grid independent if need be, because they can generate and store their own energy, which is unique for them. Just for some insight, before COVID, approximately half of their revenues came from non-government entities, businesses, and enterprises. But then as COVID came along and a lot of businesses shut down, that revenue kind of waned away, but they picked up a lot more revenue from government contracts that they were able to acquire. Basically, they put a lot of sales and marketing efforts into wooing the government to try to get funding that was available in the EV area. And by 2021, 84% of their revenue was coming from government contracts. And in 2022, that number shrank down, but then they started acquiring more enterprise and private business as their government revenues were shrinking in areas. So they're basically broadening the ability of their business to capture government and private business as well. They have sold more of their EV ARC units in the last 11 weeks ending November 10th than they have in the past 10 years. That's how much their business and their products have become in demand simply as a result of the energy crunch that the world seems to be experiencing right now from the war in Russia and all of the fallout from that, and the climate impact from heat and the impact that that's having on energy generation and the grid. Their business has basically three pillars. It consists of infrastructure, energy generation, and energy storage. They basically create products where other companies can put their specific types of chargers in, and customize the charger of whoever is buying the product's choosing. And then they have solar ability to generate and capture sun energy, and then they can store it in batteries from a battery company that they just bought. Buying that battery company called Also allowed them to bring that third pillar of their business process in-house now, which is really big for them, so that they have more control over how things operate and how things are allocated. So the recent acquisition of Also, that's a battery energy storage company, gives them the flexibility and control they need and helps them to implement their expansion plans by bringing their services to each of the locations. The Also that they bought is located in Chicago, Illinois. Their original business is located in California, so now they'll be able to build out the products that they do at each at the other location in an effort to expand and be more efficient. Right now, they are not profitable as of yet. They do expect to be profitable in 2024. And as I just cited, in the last basically prior 3 months, they've had more business than they've had in the last 10 years. So you can see that their business is definitely accelerating. Basically, they're improving their efficiency. They're able to double the number of output of their systems with their current existing number of employees. They're doing their best to maximize their efficiencies with what they have. They seem to be managed pretty well. The CEO is very prudent and frugal, and I like him, and I like his approach to how he operates the business. He's sort of no nonsense, and he doesn't have any qualms about telling you how he feels and what his opinion is. Okay. Their products, if you look further down, there's a green picture that shows their products. They have 4 main products. 2 of them are actually products that have proof of concept, are being sold and used now. 2 of the others that you'll see, the 3rd and 4th one in the photos, are in development. And then the last one shows the BEEM Also products. Those are also proof of concept products that are being sold and used actively right now. That first product is called an ARC EV, and it's basically an electric vehicle autonomous renewable charger. It's an energy infrastructure product, and it is the only 100% renewable, transportable, grid-independent EV charging option that fits in a standard parking space. It generates and stores all its own energy. It supports level 1, level 2, and DC fast charging, which is pretty unique because many of the other chargers and charging systems that are out there now are basically limited to one type of charger and don't have all 3. The only thing that this product requires is sufficient ground surface to set it on and unobstructed access to the sky in order for it to function and be available when it's needed. It's a patented product. It's 100%, like I said, renewable, transportable, off-the-grid charging option on the market, the only one, and it's uniquely suited to serve emergency preparedness needs for municipal, government, and military agencies for that reason, because it doesn't need a grid to tie into in order to operate, but it can be tied into the grid for operation if needed. And that's one of the unique features of this product versus other ones that are similar to what it does. Basically, it has up to 265 e-miles, which are basically solar or electric powered miles or drive time per day. It meets the requirements of up to 150 kilowatts of output capability for DC fast charging. That's a minimum requirement for some capturing of some government funding for these kinds of products. Like I said, it fits in the typical size of a parking spot, and the parking spot remains usable when it's there. It has those 3 types of chargers available. It's not limited to one. It comes with the pre-installed chargers of choice. Like I said, their peers are limited to the charger, one type of charger, and that limits the vehicles that can use it. Whereas this one, since you can customize and choose which ones you want, it means multiple different types of vehicles can use it, not just one. It can charge up to 6 vehicles at a time, and it reaches a length of 12 parking spaces. The really great feature about this is it needs no permits, no construction, no electrical work is required. That means you can get it delivered and installed literally within minutes, as long as you have a surface area and open sky and it's ready to go. It comes charged with the batteries charged, the solar ready to capture the sun, and it's usable immediately. Other products that do similar to what it does has to tie into the grid to provide the same types of service, which comes with all of those time-consuming and cost-consuming processes, getting permits, having electric and construction work done. This doesn't require that to operate. It's self-contained. It has access to, a neighborhood emergency charging station. It has literal plugs, like a 120 plug you'd see in your house, a 240-volt plug, so that you can use it for emergency when the grid is out. If emergency responders needed to come up and use it for emergency power or to charge emergency vehicles, this would provide that kind of service. It has a 4.3 kilowatt solar array with lithium-ion battery storage. And like I said, it's grid independent, but can be tied into it if needed. It can withstand winds up to 120 miles per hour, flood-proof up to 9.5 feet. It has patented technology that enables its solar array to track the sun, so it can capture 25% more of that solar energy and transfer it to 25% more power. It is a permanent. It weighs like 12,000, I believe, 500 pounds, but it's still transportable with the right equipment. You couldn't easily steal it, so it's stable enough to stay where it's at, but it's easily transportable. So if you own it and you need to move it somewhere else where it's more efficient, or you're locating your business or moving, you can take it with you when you own it. They have customized trailers and trucks that can be used, and containers that can be used for shipping it. So BEEM provides that service if you need to relocate it from where it was originally installed. As I mentioned, it has an emergency power panel. It comes with breakers, a 30 amp, a 20 amp, and other types of outlets for emergency responders to use it, or businesses if they own it. And most of the specs that I describe providing their output and charging capabilities, there are some limiting factors in that, depending on weather conditions and exactly how it's used. If everybody comes up and wants to use all the DC fast charger, it's gonna need time to regenerate. It's not going to be able to constantly provide nothing but DC fast chargers, but it's basically meant to provide sort of a gap fill for energy needs to charge in places where your car might be parked for a while, like while you're at work, when you're at the mall, or if some people are fortunate enough to own it at their home when it's parked at home. It's not necessarily meant to be a 10-minute fast charger like you would go fill up sort of at a gas station. It's meant to, on long highway trips, if you need to stop and get a little bit of charge as you're going down the road, you can put this out in the boonies. It'll provide you charging in areas like that. They also have another product called a solar tree. That one is an actual proof of concept product as well. That one focuses basically on larger vehicles, such as heavier trucks and heavy duty vehicles, electric buses, agricultural equipment, public transportation, construction vehicles. It has the same requirements as the other product. It just needs sufficient ground surface area and open access to the sun, and it can provide the same type of service that the other EV ARC product can. They have 2 other products in development. One is called an EV Standard. It's basically a way to modify a street light so that you can provide curbside charging for vehicles while they're parked in residential areas or anywhere you might find street lights. And they can be modified to tap into the grid, have little wind power and solar panels added to it to help it create more energy. And you can tap into the grid so that it has a constant source if you're in a place where you already have street light, which is tapped into the grid. That's in development. I don't have a time frame for when that will be coming out in real time, but it is in the works, and it sounds like it's a great product. They have another one called a UAV ARC drone charging product that's also in development, and that's meant for drone recharging in places where the drone might have to travel for a long period of time so that it has somewhere to stop and recharge on its journey, or out in areas where there's nothing else. So you can set this out there and they'll be able to take and send their drones there, and it'll be able to hook up and charge and continue on its journey. And it has the same type of feature as the off-grid ARCs, where you can just place it out there. It collects and creates its own energy from the sun and stores it in batteries for use. The company has some patents. They have patents on all 4 of the products, the 2 that are in development, as well as the 2 that have proof of concept. And they acquired some patents when they purchased the All-Cell Battery Company. That basically doubled their patent portfolio with the purchase of All-Cell Battery Company, and it was a very strategic purchase. Basically, All-Cell was buying their battery cells and their energy storage products from BEEM was buying it from All-Cell. That was 30% of their cost of their products was coming from that area. And so they were in negotiations trying to buy them once before, but the CEO wasn't able to make what he thought was a good enough deal, so he passed. And they were back at it again, and he was finally able to negotiate what he thought was a good deal for the company. And so he bought it for a few reasons. One, because it was able to give them an immediate savings on the margin and the profit margin that they would have normally paid also from buying their products. Now they get to keep that cost instead of paying it out. They get to keep it as a savings. And it also allowed them to try to protect the supply chain of their battery cells so that they have access to them over other competitors, because that was one of the issues that they were having with the current supply chain crisis, was that a problem everyone in the EV area was having was accessing these batteries. So the purchase of this company basically gave them a strategic advantage to have control of these batteries for their products when needed, and they can allocate them as they see fit. Like I said, it doubled their patent portfolio. And the batteries have something called PCC phase change composite technology. It basically is a technology that helps to absorb the heat and conduct it away from the product, and allows them to increase the power density, dramatically extend the life, and improve the safety of the battery at the same time. And that's a patented technology that they have. They also have a modular design that uses their patented technology that kind of gives them the ability to configure these cells to make these batteries modifiable and customizable for products, for different types of products, for different customer needs. And they have something called BMX architecture, which is flexible and allows them the ability to have smart communication and integrate it with other systems for their customers so that they can know what's going on within the battery and keep an eye on the temperatures and know when certain things are happening with the battery. And these are all technologies that are patented and give them an advantage that their other customers don't have. The acquisition of All-Cell basically makes BEEM one of the only companies that basically owns the infrastructure, the energy generation, and the energy storage in-house. That's unique to them. There's no other company that they're aware of that does all of those things. So that's pretty unique to them. They received a patent in China for a vehicle, a container, a product development. And it basically is a product that enables their shipping ability on a 20-foot container to ship their product on a flatbed, a rail car, on something called an ARC Mobility Proprietary Transportation System, because these can't just be shipped willy-nilly. They have to be shipped on in certain conditions, and they're a little bit large. So they've developed a certain type of trailer to deliver it to sites for setup, and then to transport it on long distances across country or overseas. And that's what this particular one would help with, is the long distance travel on truck, rail, or ship. Very importantly, they received a contract, a certain contract from the government. It's called a multiple award schedule contract from the General Services Administration. And basically what it does is it cuts through all of the red tape and paperwork and vetting process that's required by government agencies in order to make purchases for the government. And it kind of gives them a preferred status. BEEM was able to present their products to the General Services Administration. They vetted the products, and now BEEM's products are featured in the General Services Administration's catalog for any agencies across the federal government to purchase these products with a lot more ease than if they wanted to go and purchase these products outside of having that General Services Administration's contract. And that contract they received, it is good until 2025, but they have an option to exercise it and renew it through 2040, I believe, as long as they meet the standards. And they have been able to generate a significant amount of business under this contract because they qualify for a lot of government funding and grant programs. Their product meets some unique qualifications over other similar products. So there's a lot of different agencies that are buying these products up using these grant funds to do it. And then the ability to cut through this red tape in this program makes it a lot easier for them to do it as well. They basically also got a similar type of contract in the state of California that's similar to the General Services Administration one for the federal government. It does the same type of thing and makes it easier for different agencies, government agencies and municipalities in California to purchase BEEM's products. So they do have a lot of business sales in California as a result of the similar kind of contract. And they got that contract from California in 2016. They've had that contract since then. And recently, there was a bill passed called the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. That's a $7.5 billion program that is aimed at the EV infrastructure area. And it has a separate segment of funding in there. Out of the $7.5 billion, there's $5 billion set aside for a program called NEVI, NEVI. And the other remaining funds are discretionary grant funds. And these are all funds related to EV charging. And BEEM fits some very unique qualifications that allows it to access this funding for its products in a way that makes it more desirable for its products over other competitors that have products that provide similar services. Also, this product, BEEM has their product featured on the front cover of the Federal Highway Infrastructure Guidance document that basically details how the funding can be accessed and spent that's available through this program, this $5 billion NEVI program that I referenced. And I bring that up because it's pretty important. BEEM's products are the only products that are pictured in this guidance document and are on the cover. And that's pretty significant. I think it's a significant endorsement without actually saying it because it's on the cover. I think it's a pretty significant endorsement. BEEM is meeting something under Executive Order 14057, the Federal Sustainability Plan that calls for 100% zero-emission vehicle acquisitions by 2035, including 100% light-duty acquisitions by 2027. They will prioritize and accelerate a federal clean electricity and vehicle procurement strategy calling for clean zero-emission vehicles for federal, state, and local government fleets, including vehicles of the United States Post Office. Well, BEEM's products are basically 100% clean energy, American-made, not grid-dependent, and meet a lot of these requirements. And basically, they are a prime candidate to meet the federal government's fleet of 675,000 vehicles. I hadn't realized it, but the federal government has the largest fleet of vehicles in the world, and they are one of the largest gasoline users for that fleet in the world. And for them to be switching over to electric vehicles, they're going to need a lot of charging and the ability to charge multiple types of vehicles and to have it mobile, and BEEM's products uniquely fit that characteristic, and I think that they're going to get a lot of business as a result of that. There is a link in my paper to the NEVI document guide if you want to have a look at it, and the executive order that I referenced as well. Like I said, they can fulfill the federal electric vehicle charger infrastructure requirements the same way that some others that provide similar services can, but they can also advantageously fulfill requirements in a way that many others cannot. That is going to enable them to capture more of that $5 billion NEVI funding and some of that $2.5 billion electric vehicle related government funding program. The NEVI funding basically requires that you have electric vehicle chargers located along what are labeled alternative fuel corridors on state highways, and these charging stations have to be located within 1 mile of those alternative fuel corridor highways, and that's the funding is specifically earmarked particularly for only those things. It can't be diverted anywhere else until those qualifications are met. They have to be able to withstand certain amount of flooding in those areas, which BEEM's product definitely can. And BEEMs can be located there without being tied into the grid. It can be done quickly. It's ready to operate as soon as it hits the installation site, and it can be installed as quickly as 4 minutes. Once they arrive with it, it's that quick and it's ready to go. And it meets a lot of unique qualifications, like I said, that others do not. It's mobile, transportable, grid independent, able to be tied into the grid if desired, quickly scalable and deployable in areas without infrastructure, set up in minutes, American made, 100% clean energy, able to accommodate any charger, allowing multiple types of charging vehicles to use it. And that's big for that NAVI funding because across the nation, mostly Tesla chargers are the most numerous charger, but unfortunately their chargers are proprietary and can only be used by Tesla vehicles. So at this point, Tesla would not qualify for any of this funding at all unless they modify their chargers to provide charging to other types of vehicle, and they must charge multiple vehicles at the same time. So that's pretty big that BEEM immediately fits this need under that qualification in a way that Tesla does not. But I did hear that in Europe and other places, Tesla is making those changes there. But for some reason, I have not heard that they're making the changes to their chargers here in order to capture that funding. But I assume they have the capabilities since they're doing it elsewhere. So I just thought I would point that out. You can see on one of the pages there, you can see there's a qualification. It shows NEVI formula program requirements. It's got small print, so you'd have to enlarge it, but that basically shows at the top of the page some of the very specific requirements that have to be met in order to access the funding. They announced a partnership with Volvo Construction Equipment that allows them to basically get funding wrapped up with Volvo. When someone comes to purchase Volvo construction equipment, they can also purchase a BEEM charger along with that and get it wrapped up with their financing, and it's featured in Volvo's catalog. So that was a really, really big deal for BEEM because it expands their product reach, and it's sort of a product endorsement that a construction company is willing to put their product in the catalog and bundle the financing with that product on their behalf. So I thought that was a pretty big advantage for them.
Thank you guys so much for watching so far. We'll continue this in the next video, but if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to ask if you would leave the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and join us at hellstradingfloor.com, where you can get more information and stock analysis like this. We'll see you guys in the next one.